Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ozzymitsu and welcome back to my channel. It has been 7 months since I made an episode for the Evolution Solution series and I wanted to change that. For those of you who are watching my videos for the first time, my Evolution Solution series involves discussing, comparing and analysing a Pokemon that is capable of using Eviolite with its evolutionary counterpart. I have made some spin-off episodes such as comparing different forms, but you should totally check out the entire playlist in your own leisure. A link has been provided in the description, but it'll also show up on the iCard, which should appear on the top right hand corner of your screen unless you're using an ad or pop-up blocker, but that's none of my business. Today we're discussing two of my favourite dark and flying type Pokemon, Murkrow and Honchkrow. Fun fact, I've always had to double check the spelling of Honchkrow. I don't know why, but the K in its spelling always throws me off. Even though I can spell Murkrow perfectly fine, maybe it's the dyslexia talking, but I digress. Becky, would you like to help us get started by giving us some intel on Murkrow, please?
Murkrow, the Darkness Pokemon. Murkrow confuse would-be attackers by luring them into dark mountain trails, where they are sure to get lost.
Murkrow, similarly with Misdreavus being a first stage Pokemon capable of evolving but being banned in LC, is a shame. I can imagine trolling so hard in LC with this little guy. As discussed a little bit earlier, it is a dark and flying type, which leaves it with a total of 4 weaknesses, being Rock, Electric, Ice and the almighty Fairy, whilst resisting Ghost, Grass and Dark type moves. It takes no effect from Ground type moves due to its part Flying typing and Psychic due to its Dark typing. Overall a good number of resistances and immunities, but unfortunately all of its weaknesses are pretty common. Murkrow also has 3 abilities. Its primary ability is Insomnia, which is exactly what it says on the tin. This prevents Murkrow from falling asleep, whilst its secondary ability is Super Luck, which boosts the critical hit ratio of moves. This fits Murkrow's design perfectly, as Murkrow's feathery tufts resemble a witch's hat, whilst its beak resembles a witch's nose, and witches are thought to be lucky in that they can cast spells for good fortune. I think that's a really nice touch. Its hidden ability is Prankster, which gives priority to status moves, which we will talk about in a bit more detail later on. Looking at Murkrow overall, it has some nice gimmicks, but its shallow move pool coupled with its lack of bulk even with Eviolite makes it quite underwhelming. The problem with Murkrow over other Eviolite users is that it's somewhat a one-trick pony, unlike the likes of Porygon 2 and Dusclops, who can bring something new to the table every time, for example being a Trick Room setter, and particularly with Dusclops who can utilise Will-O-Wisp coupled with Hex to have some attack power. Additionally, the aforementioned Porygon 2 can utilise Download in an attempt to get a lucky special attack boost, so it can at least inflict some direct damage. And even other one-trick pony Eviolite users like Chansey, at least they have the bulk to justify holding Eviolite, unlike Murkrow. I will say one thing about Murkrow over other Eviolite users is that it can ignore speed despite being quite fast and get those status moves in before a fast sweeper gets to attack. Nevertheless, Prankster has seen a bit of a nerf this generation though, with dark types being completely unaffected by moves boosted by Prankster, which means Murkrow is walled by its own typing. Not only this, it using its item slot on Eviolite makes it quite predictable, and there's very little it can do even with its added bulk, which is why it's often overlooked as a Pokemon you'll actually bring into a competitive battle, unlike Honchkrow, who at least can cause some damage, which I'll touch upon in a moment. I have been quite harsh on Murkrow, haven't I? I'm so sorry. Although there are a lot of problems with it on the competitive scene, that's not to say it's completely useless. In fact, I've had some success with it in some Wi-Fi battles. Obviously not OU battles, but it was fun nonetheless, and that's all that matters, right? Let's move on to some potential movesets and have some fun. The Eevee investment for this one is max HP, max Spadef and 4 Eevees in physical defense. The idea here is to pair Murkrow with Oricorio and spam Feather Dance, which lowers your opponent's physical attack by 2 stages, and due to Oricorio's Dancer ability, it'll use Feather Dance after Murkrow, putting your foe at -4 attack. To deal with your poor special defense, go for Calm Mind, Roost for reliable recovery, and Dark Pulse as your only attacking move, but you can opt for Toxic if you wanted to play on the whole stall war niche Murkrow has going on. As for the nature, you can go for Calm or maybe even Modest. It's completely up to you. Another set I've had a lot of fun using isn't reliant on a double setting, it's actually a Prankster set too. Mean Look, Perish Song, Roost and Protect. The Eevees are max HP, max defense and some Spadef. The idea here is to set up Mean Look on the first turn, go for Perish Song and then switch out on the last turn. You can stall it out by using Protect and Roost to get that HP back up. It's pretty standard, but it's so satisfying when it works. This is also ignoring the fact Murkrow gets access to moves such as Haze as an answer to being setup fodder, as well as Defog for hazard control. Additionally, it also gets access to Tailwind to support your teammates, and Nightshade as a move to serve as a consistent damaging move to make up for your lack of offense. Another set I've seen that isn't actually an Evilite set, it's a Flynium Z set with Mirror Move, which will get boosted with Prankster to ensure it'll go first. It'll give Murkrow a +2 in its attack, and the copied move will become its corresponding Z move, depending on whatever move you copied, assuming it wasn't a status move. Let's move on to Honchkrow. Becky, can you give us some information on it please?
Honchkrow, the big boss Pokemon, and the evolved form of Murkrow. Honchkrow recruits many Murkrow to travel with it, and it spends much of its time at home preening its feathers.
Honchkrow evolves from Murkrow when exposed to a Dusk Stone. It retains the same typing, so has the same number of weaknesses, resistances, and immunities. It also retains the same primary and secondary abilities in Insomnia and Super Luck. However, a notable difference between Murkrow and Honchkrow says it all with their respective hidden abilities. Honchkrow gets access to the ability Moxie, which boosts its attack stat by 1 stage after knocking out any Pokemon, so it could be viewed as an excellent revenge killer, getting a quick Sucker Punch on a potential foe with low HP, get that attack boost and Brave Bird everything into an oblivion. It's quite interesting that its hidden ability transforms upon evolution from a defensive orientated ability to more of an offensive one. Honchkrow isn't meant to be used defensively. I mean, its defenses do not get much better upon evolving. It also loses some of its speed, but does gain quite a lot in its physical attack. It's a shame, as Honchkrow could have really benefited from the respectable speed stat Murkrow possesses, which it didn't even need to begin with. However, Honchkrow isn't as predictable as Murkrow, despite still having somewhat of a shallow move pool, but you can certainly opt for a physical set coupled with Moxie, but that's not to say you can't run a special set, as Honchkrow gets some really nice special moves with the stats to back it up. With coverage moves such as Heat Wave for a special set and Superpower for a physical one, you can keep your opponents on their toes guessing. Let's discuss some potential movesets. One of my favourite movesets that I've recently been using is more suited for a double setting, and it works really well. So, Adamant Nature, Max Attack, Max Speed with a little bit of HP investment. The moves are as followed: Brave Bird, Night Slash, Return, and Superpower. The idea here is to pair it with Audino, who uses Helping Hand, spam Brave Bird. Audino then heal pulses that recoil damage on the next turn. Hopefully you've knocked something out by then for that +1 in your attack due to Moxie, and then Brave Bird will be doing a nice chunk of damage. It's also worked really well with Pokemon who can use Follow Me so that Honchkrow can stay safe, because it's not the most defensive Pokemon out there. The only problem with this set is the lack of speed control. Honchkrow isn't fast enough to be considered a good enough sweeper unless you have Tailwind support. Additionally, your strategy can be shut down by anything that either resists flying type moves or carries taunt. A good option instead of spamming Brave Bird could be to use Night Slash, depending on if your opponent's team resists flying but doesn't have any checks for dark type moves. Return is also another good option despite it not being stab. I've also seen some people run a Life Orb set with Moxie, opting for Brave Bird, Sucker Punch, Pursuit and Superpower, which can work well due to it not having to commit to just one move due to Choice Band locking you in. Alternatively, I've seen some people use Z Mirror move like I suggested with Murkrow, which isn't too bad on Honchkrow, giving it that +2 in its attack. It's just that its speed will be its biggest downfall, as it doesn't have the speed to act as a glass cannon sweeper. It'll probably get taken down before it even gets to attack. However, Honchkrow makes a great late game revenge killer. Sweep up the last few mons in the hopes that your other Pokemon have gotten rid of all the other threats that Honchkrow has, and then you can go from there. Reviewing the two from an analytics standpoint, they both kind of fall shy of impressive. Although on paper Honchkrow seems super strong, there's a reason why it sits there in the RU tier. Whilst Murkrow really is only good in PU, and as mentioned, Prankster really does help it out a lot. Unfortunately, holding Evilite may not be the best item to give Murkrow in this instance, as it's too frail to justify using it as a wall, when there are so many better defensive Prankster users like Klefki, who can set up screens, and Sableye, who can use Will-O-Wisp to shut down physical attackers and set up Calm Mind to tank those special hits. As mentioned previously, however, Murkrow does have an answer to its frail nature in Calm Mind and Feather Dance. Honchkrow seems like the safer choice of the two. Although it is slower, Murkrow can't really do anything with that speed. At least with Honchkrow, with the right amount of speed control, can be quite the threat. Honchkrow's best use is as a late game cleaner, as it's most effective once its foes have been weakened enough to be picked off either by Sucker Punch or Brave Bird. Honchkrow can also be used as an early game wall breaker when supporting a sweeper. Taking their competitive usefulness out of the question however, I'd pick Murkrow. It's one of my favourite Pokemon of all time. I love its design as mentioned during the beginning of the video, where its feathery tufts resemble a witch's hat, whilst its beak resembles a witch's nose. I also really enjoyed that episode Murkrow appeared in the anime under the ownership of Lily. As a kid, seeing Lily speaking with one of the many English accents was quite refreshing, as it sounded as close to my accent because we'd never get anything remotely similar on TV at the time, so it was quite a refreshing change. I've always been interested in witchcraft and magic, and there's something quite magical about Murkrow. I really do like Honchkrow though. Overall, a great evolutionary line. But what about you guys though? Which of the two do you prefer? Be sure to let me know by dropping a comment down below, because I'd love to hear all of your thoughts. Moving swiftly on, I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please give this video a big thumbs up, as that really does help me out, as well as subscribing to my channel to become an Aussie What Today. But with all of that being said, I'll see you guys very soon.